Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Conversation Academy. I am so happy you are here with us today to practice your English listening and speaking skills.
Hi, everyone. I am Alex, and it is so great to be here with Emma today for this lesson. We really hope this conversation helps you feel more confident when you speak English in your daily life.
Thanks, Alex. It is always fun to sit down and chat like this. And today, we have a very important topic to talk about. We are going to talk about how to express ourselves when we feel emotionally weak or just a little bit down.
That is a really meaningful topic, Emma. Because sometimes, even when we learn a lot of vocabulary, it is hard to find the right words to say how we actually feel, especially when we are not feeling our best.
Exactly. And before we dive into that, how have you been lately, Alex? How was your weekend?
Oh, it was actually very quiet. I spent most of it at home just relaxing. I think I needed some time to recharge. You know?
I totally understand that. Did you do anything special or just take it easy?
I mostly just read a book and worked in my garden a little bit. The weather was quite nice, so it was peaceful. How about you, Emma?
My weekend was a bit more busy. My family came over for a big dinner on Sunday, so there was a lot of cooking and cleaning. But it was lovely to see everyone, although I am a bit tired today.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. But family time is always worth it. Did you cook anything special?
I made a big pot of lasagna. It is my favorite thing to cook when I have people over because it is easy to share. But oh my, the dishes afterwards were endless.
Haha, I can imagine. That is the only bad part about hosting a big dinner. But I bet it tasted amazing.
It was pretty good. Thank you. But you know, Alex, even though I had a nice time with my family, I woke up today feeling a bit emotionally heavy, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Sometimes after a lot of social activity, we can feel a bit drained. Or maybe there is just something on your mind.
I think it is a bit of both. Sometimes I just have these days where I feel a bit more sensitive than usual, like my energy is low, and I find it harder to be my usual bubbly self.
I think we all have those days. I certainly do. And it is important to acknowledge them. Do you find it easy to talk about it when you feel that way?
Honestly, no. It is actually quite hard for me. I usually try to hide it and pretend everything is fine because I do not want to bother anyone. But then I realize that keeping it inside makes it feel worse.
That is so true. I used to do the same thing. I thought that being strong meant never showing any weakness. But I am learning that talking about it is actually a sign of strength.
I love that you said that. But tell me, when you are feeling a bit low or emotionally weak, what is the first thing you usually say to someone you trust?
Well, usually I start small. I might say something like, "Hey, I am feeling a little bit off today," or "I am feeling a bit overwhelmed," just to let the other person know I am not quite myself.
That is a good way to start. It is not too heavy, but it sets the stage. I often say, I am feeling a bit tired, even when I mean I am emotionally tired. Do you think people understand the difference?
Sometimes they do, but sometimes they might just think you didn't sleep well. So I try to be a bit more specific if I can, like saying, "My mind feels a bit heavy today," or "I am feeling a bit stressed about things."
Oh, really? I like that phrase. My mind feels heavy. It describes the feeling so well without needing a specific reason for it.
Exactly. Because sometimes we don't even know why we feel that way. It could be the weather, or lack of sleep, or just life catching up with us.
You know, when I feel weak, I often find myself wanting to apologize for it. I say things like, I am sorry I am being so quiet, or I am sorry I am not more fun today.
Oh, I do that too, but we shouldn't have to apologize for having emotions, right? We are human beings, not robots.
You are so right, Alex. But it is a habit. I think many English learners might feel this way too. if they are struggling with the language and also feeling down, it can be doubly hard.
I can't believe how much pressure we put on ourselves sometimes. If you are learning English and you feel sad, it is okay to use simple words. You don't need fancy vocabulary to express a sad heart.
That is a great point. Just saying, I feel sad, or I need a hug, or I need some quiet time is perfectly okay.
Have you ever had a moment where you just needed to cry but you didn't know why?
Oh my, yes, many times. It usually happens when I have been busy for too long without taking a break. My body just says, okay, Emma, it is time to let it out.
It is like a pressure valve. Once you cry, you feel a bit lighter. I think crying is a very natural way to heal.
It really is. And after I have a good cry, I usually want to talk to a friend, but I worry about being a downer. You know what I mean?
I do, but think about it this way. If a friend came to you and said they were feeling weak, would you think they were a downer?
No, not at all. I would want to help them and listen to them.
Exactly. So, we should give our friends the chance to do the same for us. Most people actually like being there for the people they love. It makes the friendship deeper.
That is a really beautiful way to look at it. I think I need to remember that more often. So, Alex, what are some hobbies you turn to when you feel this way?
For me, it is definitely music. I have a specific playlist for when I feel low. It is mostly slow, acoustic song, and I just sit and listen. No phone, no distractions.
That sounds very peaceful. I usually turn to baking. There is something about the process of measuring flour and sugar that calms my mind. It is very repetitive and simple.
Oh wow, I wish I could bake when I was sad. But I think I would just end up eating all the cookie dough before it even got to the oven.
Ha ha. Well, that is also a form of therapy, isn't it? Cookie dough makes everything better for a little while.
It really does. But you know, Emma, I also find that going for a walk helps a lot. Just getting out of the house and seeing the trees and the sky.
I agree. Nature has a way of making our problems feel a bit smaller, like we are part of something much bigger.
Definitely. Do you find that you talk to your family when you feel this way? Or do you prefer talking to friends?
It depends. I am very close to my sister, so I usually call her first. She knows me so well that she can hear it in my voice before I even say anything.
That is so lucky. Having someone who knows your voice that well is a gift. My brother is the same way. He will just say, "Okay, Alex, what is going on?" And I know I can't hide it.
It is funny how family works. They have a secret radar for our emotions. But sometimes I also like talking to someone who is a bit further away from the situation, like a mentor or a very old friend.
I understand that. Sometimes family can get too worried, and then you end up feeling like you have to comfort them instead.
Yes, that is exactly it. You don't want to make them sad because you are sad. It is a tricky balance.
Let's talk about the words we use for these feelings, because in English, we have so many, like, blue, or down in the dumps, or out of sorts.
Oh, I love the phrase, out of sorts. It sounds so polite, but it really means everything is just a mess inside.
It does, and down in the dumps. Sounds a bit more dramatic, like you were sitting in a pile of trash, which is sometimes how it feels emotionally.
Ha ha, that is a funny image, but it is true. What about feeling under the weather? Do you use that for emotions too?
Usually I use that for when I am physically sick, like a cold. But I think people use it for emotions sometimes too, because being sad can feel like a physical weight.
It really can. I often get a headache or a tight chest when I am feeling emotionally weak. It is amazing how the mind and body are so connected.
They really are. That is why I think it is important to take care of both. If I feel weak, I try to drink more water and maybe go to bed early.
That is very wise. Sleep is often the best medicine. I find that things always look a little bit better in the morning light.
I agree. The night can make everything feel much darker and more serious than it really is.
You know, Alex, I was thinking about how people from different cultures express sadness. In some cultures, it is very open, but in others, it is very private.
That is a great observation. I think in English speaking cultures, we are slowly becoming more open about it, but it still takes practice to find the words.
It really does. And for our listeners who are learning English, I want them to know that it is okay to keep it simple. You don't need to explain the whole history of your feelings. You can just say, I am having a hard time.
That is such a powerful phrase. I am having a hard time. It is honest and it asks for a little bit of grace from the other person.
Exactly. And if the other person asks, do you want to talk about it? You can always say, not yet, but thanks for asking.
Yeah, that is a very important boundary. You don't have to talk until you are ready. Just knowing someone is there is often enough.
I remember a time a few months ago. I was feeling really low because of work. I felt like I wasn't doing a good job, and I was so afraid to tell anyone because I didn't want to look like a failure.
Oh, Emma, I think we have all felt that way at some point. Work can be so tied to our self-esteem.
It really can. But I finally told a colleague, and she just looked at me and said, oh my, I feel the same way every Tuesday, and we both just started laughing.
Wow, that is amazing. It is so true that when we share our weakness, we often find out we are not alone at all.
It was such a relief. It was like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders just by knowing someone else felt the same way.
I think that is why these conversations are so important. We think we are the only ones struggling, but everyone has their own battles.
Exactly. So, Alex, what do you do when a friend comes to you and they are feeling emotionally weak? How do you react?
Well, I try to listen more than I talk. I think often we try to fix the problem too fast, but usually a lot of people just want to be heard.
That is so true. I don't always need a solution. Sometimes I just need someone to say, that sounds really hard. I am sorry you are going through that.
Yes, validating their feelings is so important. I try to say things like, I hear you, or that makes total sense why you feel that way.
Those are such helpful phrases. I am going to remember those because sometimes I get nervous that I won't say the right thing to a friend in need.
I think the right thing is just being there. You don't need to be a therapist. You just need to be a friend.
That makes me feel much better. I think sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves to be perfect in every situation.
Definitely. And perfection is the enemy of connection. If we are always perfect, no one can really get close to us.
Oh, that is a deep thought, Alex. I like that. Let's talk about some daily routines that might help when we are feeling a bit weak.
Well, for me, I like to write in a journal. It doesn't have to be long, just a few sentences about what is in my head.
I have tried that, but sometimes I look at the blank page and I don't know what to write. What do you start with?
I usually start with something very simple, like, today I feel, and then I just let the pen move. Sometimes it is just one word, like tired or confused.
I should try that. I usually try to write a whole story and then I get frustrated and stop. Starting with one word sounds much more manageable.
It really is. And what about you? Do you have a routine?
I like to light a candle and listen to the rain. If it is raining, if not, I just listen to some calm sounds on my phone. It helps me feel grounded.
That sounds lovely. Very hygge, as the Danish say.
Yes, I love that concept. Creating a cozy atmosphere to help your soul feel safe.
I think we need more of that in the world. Everything is so fast and loud all the time. It is no wonder we feel emotionally weak sometimes.
It really is a lot to handle. The news, social media, work. It is constant information.
Oh, social media is a big one. When I am feeling down, the last thing I should do is look at other people's perfect lives on Instagram.
I can't believe how true that is. It makes you feel like you are the only one who isn't on a beach or eating a fancy meal.
Exactly. So when I feel weak, I try to put my phone in another room and just stay away from it for a few hours.
That is a great habit. I try to do that too, but it is hard. I find myself reaching for it without even thinking.
It is a tough habit to break, but your mind will thank you for it. Trust me.
I believe you. So, let's think about some more English phrases for our students. What about when you are starting to feel better?
Oh, that is a good one. You could say, I am starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Or, I am feeling a bit more like myself again.
I love, I am feeling more like myself. It implies that when you are sad, you are a different version of you, and now you are coming back.
Yes, it is a very positive way to put it. Or you could say, I have more energy today. Or things are looking up.
Things are looking up. That is a classic. I use that one a lot. It sounds very hopeful.
It really does. And hope is so important. Even when things are hard, we have to believe that the feeling won't last forever.
Because it never does. Right? Emotions are like clouds. They pass through the sky. Sometimes they are dark. Sometimes they are light. But the sky is always there.
Wow, Emma. You are being very poetic today. I love that metaphor.
Thank you. I think I read it in a book somewhere, but it really stuck with me. It helps me stay calm when I am in the middle of a storm.
It is a great reminder. So, let's talk a little bit about food. Does food help you when you are feeling low?
Oh, definitely. I am a total comfort food person. For me, it is a warm bowl of soup, especially tomato soup with grilled cheese.
Oh my. That is the ultimate comfort food. It is like a hug in a bowl.
It really is. What about you, Alex? What is your go-to meal?
For me, it is probably pasta. Just a simple pasta with butter and cheese. It reminds me of being a kid. It is very simple and satisfying.
There is something about childhood foods that makes us feel safe. I think that is why we call it comfort food.
Exactly. It takes us back to a time when things were simpler and someone else was taking care of us.
That is so true. And speaking of being taken care of, do you have a pet that helps you when you are sad?
I do. I have a golden retriever named Max, and he is the best at knowing when I am upset. He will just come and sit on my feet and look up at me with those big eyes.
Oh, wow. Dogs are so intuitive. They really are our best friends.
They really are. He doesn't need any words. He just stays close. And that is exactly what I need.
I have a cat. Her name is Luna, and she's a bit different. She doesn't sit on my feet, but she will follow me from room to room, just to make sure I am okay.
That is funny. Cats have their own way of showing love. It is more subtle, but it is definitely there.
It is, and her purring is very relaxing. It is like a little motor that calms my nerves.
I have heard that cat purrs can actually lower your blood pressure. So she is basically a little doctor.
I think she would agree with that. She certainly acts like she is in charge of the house.
Haha. Don't they all, but seriously, pets are such a blessing when we are feeling emotionally weak.
They really are. So, Alex, we have talked a lot about what to do and what to say, but what should we avoid saying to someone who is feeling weak?
That is a great question. I think we should avoid saying things like, just be positive. Or, it could be worse.
Oh, I agree. Those are the worst. It feels like the person is dismissing your feelings, even if they mean well.
Exactly. Even if it could be worse, it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt right now. It is better to just be present with the person.
And just be positive is so hard to do when you are in the middle of a hard time. It feels like a chore.
It does. It is like telling someone to run a marathon when they have a broken leg. It just isn't possible in that moment.
That is a perfect comparison. It is better to say, it is okay to not be okay right now.
Yes, that is one of the best things you can say to someone. It gives them permission to feel their feelings without guilt.
I think guilt is a big part of feeling emotionally weak. We feel guilty for not being productive or not being happy for our friends.
I agree, and we live in a culture that prizes productivity so much that resting feels like a failure. But resting is actually very productive for our mental health.
I need to hear that today because I have been feeling guilty about not finishing my to-do list this morning.
Emma, the to-do list will always be there tomorrow, but your peace of mind is more important. Take the time you need.
Thank you, Alex. I really appreciate that. It is nice to hear it from a friend.
Anytime. And I hope our listeners are hearing this too. If you are having a hard day, it is okay to do less.
Definitely. Let's talk about some more small talk topics, because sometimes when we feel weak, we just want to talk about normal things to distract ourselves.
That is true. Sometimes a little bit of normalcy is the best distraction. What is a TV show you have been watching lately?
I have been rewatching a comedy series called Parks and Recreation. It is so light and funny. It always makes me laugh no matter how I feel.
Oh, I love that show. Leslie Knope is such a great character. Her energy is contagious.
It really is. I wish I had half of her energy sometimes, but even just watching her makes me feel a bit more motivated.
I have been watching a documentary series about space. It is very slow and beautiful, and it makes me think about how big the universe is.
Oh, wow. That sounds very relaxing. Does it make you feel small or does it make you feel inspired?
A bit of both. It makes me feel small in a good way, like my problems are just tiny specks in the grand scheme of things. It gives me perspective.
I like that. Perspective is so important. Sometimes we get so zoomed in on our own lives that we forget how much else is going on.
Exactly. What about music? Besides your sad playlist, what do you listen to when you want to feel happy?
I love 80s pop music. It is so upbeat and cheesy. You can't help but dance a little bit.
I can see you dancing in your kitchen to some 80s hits. That is a great image.
Oh, it happens more often than I would like to admit. It really helps change my mood.
I am more of a jazz person when I want to feel good. Something smooth and sophisticated. It makes me feel like I am in a cool cafe in Paris.
Oh, that sounds very classy. I can imagine you sitting there with a coffee and a croissant.
That is the dream. Maybe one day soon.
So, Alex, we are talking about feeling weak. Do you think it is harder for men to talk about this than women?
That is a big question, might I? But honestly, yes, I think traditional ideas about being manly mean that many men are taught to hide their emotions, which is not healthy at all.
I agree. It seems like things are changing, but there is still a lot of pressure on men to be the rock of the family.
Exactly. But even rocks can have cracks, and that is okay. I think men are starting to realize that being honest about their feelings actually makes their relationships stronger.
I am so glad to hear that, because I think everyone benefits when we can all be honest about how we are doing.
Definitely. It creates a much more supportive community for everyone.
Let's talk about some simple English questions our students can use to check on their friends. What are some of your favorites?
A simple one is, how are you really doing? Adding that word really shows that you are ready for a real answer, not just a fine thanks.
That is a great one. Or you could ask, is there anything on your mind?
Yes, or even, you seem a bit quiet today. Is everything okay?
Those are also gentle and kind. It doesn't feel like you are being interrogated.
Exactly. You want to open the door for them, but not push them through it.
I love that. And what if they say they are fine, but you know they aren't?
then I usually just say, okay, well, if you ever want to talk, I am here to listen. And then I leave it at that.
That is perfect. It shows you care without being pushy.
You know, Emma, I think one of the hardest things about feeling emotionally weak is the fear that it will never end.
I agree. When you are in it, it feels like it has always been this way and always will be.
But if we look back at our lives, we can see that we have survived 100% of our bad days so far.
Wow, I have never thought about it like that. 100%? That is a pretty good track record.
It really is. We are much stronger than we think we are, even when we feel weak.
That is a very encouraging thought. I think I am going to write that down and put it on my fridge.
It is a good one to keep in mind. So, what is something you were looking forward to this week?
Well, I am going to a pottery class on Thursday. I have never done it before, so I am a bit nervous but also excited.
Oh, wow. Pottery? That sounds so fun. And very messy.
I am sure it will be a mess. I will probably end up with more clay on my face than on the wheel, but it will be a good experience.
That is the spirit. Trying something new is a great way to boost your mood. It gives you something to focus on besides your feelings.
Exactly. And what about you? Any plans?
I am going to visit a local museum that has a new exhibit on ancient history. I love history. So I am really looking forward to it.
That sounds very interesting. You will have to tell me all about it next time we talk.
I definitely will. Maybe I will learn something that gives me even more perspective on life.
I am sure you will. So, Alex, as we wrap up this conversation, do you have any final words of encouragement for our English learners?
I would just say, be kind to yourself. Learning a language is hard, and life is hard. So give yourself some credit for doing both at the same time.
That is so true. You are all doing an amazing job, and it is okay to take breaks when you need them.
Exactly. Your English will still be there when you feel stronger. So don't worry about it too much.
Thank you so much, Alex. This has been such a helpful and comforting conversation for me.
I agree, Emma. I feel much better too. It is always good to talk things out with a friend.
It really is. And to all our viewers, thank you for joining us today at English Conversation Academy. We hope you enjoyed this practice.
Yes, thank you for listening. And remember to keep practicing. Even just a little bit every day makes a huge difference.
We will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful and peaceful day, everyone.
Goodbye for now. Take care of yourselves.
Bye-bye.